Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today again here with a little Ficus Microcarpa plug that I purchased, and the goal is today to also repot this in its first bonsai pot. So I have been quite a fan of these little plugs lately because they are so easy to take care of. First of all, they are quite characteristic in their looks. Probably, of course, not really counting as a traditional bonsai look, but I do enjoy these looks of this little Ficus Microcarpa that you can find. And what I do like about them is they're not grafted, so they're actually the leaves that are from the root mass here. So a lot of growth also coming, especially from this one here, as you can see right now. And I think they're just good material to create little starter trees with. So I just want to show you how you can easily take a plug like this and create a little starter bonsai from it. So what we're going to do today is, of course, get it out of the soil it is in right now. It comes in coco coir, and that is not the best suitable soil for it to stay in a bonsai pot. And then we're going to repot it in that pot and really make sure it stays in there then for the next couple of years. That's the plan for today. So I would say let's start right away with getting this out of the soil. So once again, I'm just going around here, loosening the soil around the pot so we can easily take it off. And that allows us then the first look at the root mass. And I must say I'm quite positively surprised. Normally on these plugs you don't see a lot of roots. This one seems to have a somewhat decent root mass actually. So I can see a lot of the nice white creamy roots here. So let's start here from the top now, taking off part of the soil. As I said, it's mainly coco coir. You can see that by these long fibers in the soil here. This is always a good sign that there is some amount of coco coir within this soil. It is used because it is retaining moisture quite well, so especially for the long traveling this one goes through before actually then ending up in a box store. It's quite easy for them to travel then in long distances because they do retain moisture quite well in the soil. So by digging in here now, I can see that here we don't have much roots in the middle. So I'm suspecting that we have some roots here on this part of the root and probably some roots here. We will see that in a second. The roots on these little plugs, as they are such young plants basically, they are quite fine. So I always make sure to rather take my time here and not completely remove the soil in one go very fast, because I don't want to damage those roots, because as I said, they are still quite thin, not that well established. And we don't want to damage the tree unnecessarily when we repot it, of course. We want this repot to be as easy on the tree as possible. So I'm really taking my time to loosen the soil around the roots and then pulling it off very gently. Okay, I think I can see the first roots coming here now. Still some soil clinging to the tree. You always pot them up quite deep, because in general the whole thing is a root on these little Ficus Ginseng plugs. And therefore you can pot them as deep as you want to. They will start to root from one point or the other. So that's almost all of the soil removed. Just a little bit more here. So I still feel some of the fiber of the coco coir getting loose here. And yeah, it's not the best root mass, but I've seen worse on these ones. And I've had worse than this that still survived. So I have high hopes that this will do well in its new pot as well, because we have roots on all three of those little stems. So there's something to work with, definitely. So that should be enough for removing it. Let me clean up here a little bit and then we get to repotting. So I removed the majority of the soil here on our working space, so we have enough space to really get to repotting. So let me get the pot I have planned for today. And it's a pot I have had for quite a long time. It was actually quite inexpensive. It came with, of course, a tree inside, and it has this stone basically completely glued, fixated onto this pot. I often wondered how I should use this, because most trees don't really fit with it, in my opinion, because they're too tall. And then I thought, why not take one of those plugs actually and position it maybe even a little bit here, leaning on this tree, on the stone. So this is actually perfect with this little knob we have here that we can then rest the tree onto the stone. I think this looks quite well actually if we do it like this. So let me give you a little look around this tree, how it would look like then. And I think this would really fit well. So the tree really fits nicely to the stone here, and this slight leaning posture of it, I think I like quite a lot. Let's try some other things. But this one, of course, it would go quite far outside the pot like this. Also anything else. Because this is actually the most, I would say, unsightly part of the tree. And it perfectly hides if we position the tree like this. So what we have to do, of course, first is to put in some soil as a ground layer in here. I put some netting in the bottom so the soil doesn't drain through the drainage holes. And then we fill an initial layer of soil in here, because of course we don't want the roots to be completely at the bottom of this pot. We want to give them some room to grow still. Let me just fill this a little bit. And we will see if we actually have to tie this in or not. But I think as it is leaning very well on here, we probably don't even have to tie it in. Giving it another look if I'm fine and happy with this position. I would say yes, I do enjoy that. It really fits well with this tree and the pot. Then we just put an initial liberal amount of soil in here. Of course, here especially we have to make sure that we also get the soil underneath the stone, so there is no space that is open somewhere in here where water could collect and simply affect the health of the tree in the future. So some more here, and then we really need to work in the soil still. So I'm taking simply a wooden chopstick and I'm trying to really reach below the stone here, and of course also work it within the few roots that we had on this tree. However, there shouldn't be really any open spaces when we look at the roots, because there haven't been that many roots simply. But for the stone, definitely I can see the soil working itself underneath here still. So definitely something we should keep in mind and do right now to make sure this tree has the perfect conditions to grow in the future in the soil, really also, and in this pot for quite a long time. Because I do want this tree to really get established in this pot and then in the future work on the foliage, but we get to talk about that in a second when we're done with repotting. But for now, let's add some more soil. Again, inorganic mixture. All of my tropicals are doing extremely well in this mixture, so I completely shifted to this when it comes to my tropical trees. And there's still a bit, making sure really all of the roots here are also covered, because there have been some roots that have been quite high up on this tree. So we also make sure that they are covered. So let's give it a look and see if we're happy with the initial outcome of this tree. And I must say, I really love this leaning look of it. Looks very, very nice. And of course, already not as traditional tree, having it then combined with a feature, I think that really brings out the specific character of this tree and simply what can work with this tree. Because alone, probably wouldn't work as well. We have extreme inverse taper on the branches, of course, on the trunks here, if you look at it. That is actually often the case with Ficus Microcarpa, especially if you bring those little plugs that you have inverse taper, because as I said, this is simply a root. So, and then roots, of course, also taper out towards the end of the root, not the end of the trunk. And that is normally a problem on these trees, but I think it works quite well with regards to this tree now in combination with the stone, with this little rock in here, because it creates just a nice look with those little caves almost building in through here, through the different roots. Then of course this little cave we actually have in here in the rock, I think that really fits nicely. And it really looks almost like a root over rock by accident because, well, it is root, so that does make sense to show it like this. Unfortunately, it's not big enough to really position it over the rock here, that we don't have any root mass to work with that. Maybe in the future we can even then pot this higher up again and really work it more and more onto this rock. But for now, I'm really happy with the way it looks, I must say. So I really think this can look potentially very nice in the future if we continue to work on this tree. So how will I work on this tree in the future? It is mainly the focus, of course, up here on the foliage. Right now you have a lot of growth points coming out next to each other. There is very dense growth, a lot of branches shooting off, of course, from the main branch here. Not a lot of ramification also going on right now because it is such a young plant. So that is something over the next years we will need to focus on, especially to create almost some pad-like structure on this tree to create and figure out which branches we want to work with in the future, which are the strongest ones, which have the most potential. I want to work the tree a little bit over the rock here as well, so to have the canopy slightly going over also on this side, while of course also making use of the space we have still here. But as I said, that will be work for the next couple of months and years. Now cold season is here, so there won't be that much growth, I suspect. I will keep it in a warm and sunny place and see how it will be doing until then. Probably the first styling really off the branches. I'm not sure if we're already going to do this now in cold season or wait till growth season comes around and we really see which branches have good development going on. But I will keep you updated on that. I will definitely show you then how I will wire and work on these branches. But I think for today, for repotting it into its first bonsai pot, I'm quite happy with the result. If you have any questions about this tree or about repotting, or if you have any tips about this little Ficus Microcarpa plugs and how you use them in your project, feel free to leave them in the comments and I'm happy to discuss with you simply any ideas or questions that you have. If you enjoyed this video, of course, feel free to leave a like for it. And if you enjoy my channel, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to it and never miss a video then in the future. And hopefully I will see you then in the next video. But until then, take care.